All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something that's, well, it's a silent killer for your GPU performance, the CUDA bank conflict. So you've got this beast of a GPU, right? Petaflop scale power, just ready to chew through data. But then it slows to a crawl. What's going on? Well, there's this hidden trap in its memory, and we're going to find out exactly what it is. Okay, so the heart of the issue is what a lot of engineers call the memory wall. Just picture this. Your GPU's ability to compute stuff is growing exponentially. It's just insane. But the speed at which you can actually feed it data, that's kind of just chugging along, growing linearly. This huge gap, that's the battlefield where your performance is either won or lost. All right, here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we'll nail down what this performance trap really is. Then we'll peek inside the memory architecture, dissect what a bank conflict actually looks like, and then, of course, we'll get into the fixes, both in software and hardware, before we show you how to check your work. So, to fight back against that memory wall, GPUs have this secret weapon, super fast on-chip memory that you, the developer, get to control directly. It's called shared memory, and honestly, it's the key to screaming fast performance. But, and this is a big but, this amazing tool has this one critical weakness, and if you're not careful, it will absolutely backfire on you. Yeah, and that weakness has a name, a bank conflict. So here's what happens. You have a group of threads called a warp, and they all try to grab different pieces of data from the same physical chunk of memory, all at the exact same time. Instead of this beautiful parallel operation, the hardware just throws up its hands and says, nope, one at a time, it serializes everything, and boom, your memory bandwidth is just destroyed. Okay, to really get why this happens, we've got to pop the hood and see how this shared memory is actually built. And it all kind of magically comes down to one number. And that magic number in the CUDA universe is 32. You've got 32 threads in a warp. That's the basic group that does everything together. And, what do you know, the shared memory is split into 32 separate little modules called banks. This is absolutely not a coincidence. The whole system is designed for this perfect scenario where each of those 32 threads can talk to its very own memory bank all at once in perfect harmony. So, how does a thread figure out which bank it's supposed to talk to? Well, the GPU uses this really simple formula. It looks at the memory address, figures out which 4-byte word it is, and then just does a modulo 32. That tells it which of the 32 banks to go to. It's this simple round-robin system that's supposed to spread everything out perfectly, when it works. Okay, so now let's see how this beautiful, elegant system can just completely fall apart. We're going to look at the anatomy of a bank conflict, the scene of the performance crime, if you will. Now, this is a really, really important distinction. If all 32 threads in your warp want to read the exact same memory address, the hardware is smart about it. It does one read and just broadcasts that value to all the threads. Super fast, no problem. A conflict only happens when they're trying to read different addresses that just happen to land in the same bank. Okay, so let's start with the perfect world scenario, the happy path. This is when your threads are accessing memory one right after the other, a nice continuous block. It's called a unit stride access. You can think of it like just reading data straight across a row in a spreadsheet. Nice and simple. And this right here, this is perfection. See? Thread 0 grabs word 0, which the formula sends to bank 0. Thread 1 grabs word 1, which goes to bank 1, and so on, all the way down the line. Every single thread hits a unique bank. That means all 32 requests get served in one clock cycle. This is what maximum memory bandwidth looks like. It's beautiful. But algorithms aren't always so nice and neat, are they? We don't always read data in a perfect row. So what happens when your code needs to access data vertically, going down a column, in a matrix that just so happens to be exactly 32 elements wide? And here it is. Total disaster. Look at this. To get from one row to the next in that column, you have to jump forward 32 words in memory. So thread 0 hits word 0. That's bank 0. But then thread 1 hits word 32. And if you run the formula, yep, that's also bank 0. Thread 2 hits word 64. Also bank 0. Every single thread in the warp is trying to talk to bank 0 at the same time. The hardware just creates a single file line, and your parallel operation turns into a painfully slow serial one. So obviously, we need to fix this. How in the world do we break up this massive memory traffic jam? Well, lucky for us, we can outsmart the hardware with a couple of classic software tricks. The easiest, most common fix is called padding. It's almost deceptively simple. Instead of telling the compiler your array is 32 elements wide, you lie a little. You say it's 33. Now, yeah, this adds a tiny bit of wasted space, but what it does is change the stride, the jump between rows, from 32 to 33. And because 33 is an odd number, it doesn't have common factors with 32. And just like magic, when you access a column now, the requests are spread out perfectly across all the different banks again. Problem solved. But, padding does waste that precious shared memory. So for something a bit more advanced, there's XOR swizzling. This uses some slick bitwise math, that little XOR operator, to basically shuffle the memory addresses on the fly. You get the exact same conflict-free result as padding, but you don't waste a single byte of memory. It's a much more, elegant solution. Now, for a long, long time, these software tricks were pretty much all we had. But lately, the GPU hardware itself has gotten a lot smarter, and it started to evolve to help us developers deal with these tricky memory patterns automatically. And the evolution here has been pretty incredible, actually. We started with these purely manual software tricks on the older GPUs. Then came the Ampere architecture, which gave us asynchronous copy instructions that could help hide some of the waiting time. And that brings us to today, with the Hopper architecture's Tensor Memory Accelerator, the TMA, which can literally automate the entire process of moving and swizzling data for you, right in the hardware. Okay, so this is super important. After you've applied a fix, whether it's a software trick or using a new hardware feature, you have to check that it actually worked. You never ever want to just guess when it comes to performance. You have to measure. And the tool for that job is NVIDIA's Nsight Compute Profiler. When you run it, these are the vital signs you need to look for. You've got the raw bank conflict counter, which tells you, yep, conflicts are happening. Then there's the shared memory throttle metric, which tells you if your memory access is the main bottleneck. But the real star of the show is the excessive wavefronts counter. Yeah, you really want to zoom in on L1 wavefronts shared excessive. Okay, think of a wavefront as one big unified request that the warp sends to the memory system. In a perfect, conflict-free world, one instruction equals one wavefront. Simple. But when you have conflicts, the hardware has to chop that single request up into multiple smaller ones. So a high number for this metric is the smoking gun. It is telling you exactly how many extra serialized trips to memory you had to make, and it's a direct measurement of the performance you're leaving on the table. And all of this really brings us to the biggest takeaway from our whole discussion. The way you lay out your data in memory, it isn't just some minor implementation detail you figure out at the end. It's a fundamental, structural part of your program. It's just as important to performance as the algorithm itself. So by understanding, finding, and killing these shared memory bank conflicts, you stop throwing away performance. You're not just getting your code to run, you're finally unlocking the absolutely massive potential that your GPU has. Your code runs, sure, but the real question is, how much faster could it be?